Kia ora koutou. Welcome to another version of the Hot Air Sports Podcast. And you'll see that there's three of us this week. There's my good mate Mahona and special guest Dale Budge. How are you, Budgie?
Yeah, good. Thanks, guys. Good to be on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, bit going on around the Tuatara at the moment. Even though they're not playing, we've unfortunately the ABL's been canned for the season, which obviously the Tuatara pulled out of very early in the piece this year, unlike last year's Schmozzle. What's the Tuatara's reaction been to the whole competition being canned for the season?
Mate, we're relieved in a way. I commend the ABL for making a tough call. No one likes having to make a decision like that. We found it really hard last year having to stand down, and we learned some lessons out of that and made the call much earlier this year just to give everyone else the same clarity. It's tough, man. We're all competitors. We love sport. We're involved to win, to play. That's kind of what we do. And so making a call to sit out is not something that comes easy. But given the circumstances, given the scenario, people keep trying to compare this league to some of the other Trans-Tasman leagues. Most of the other ones, whether it be the A-League, the Australian Basketball League, the NRL, the netball competition, they all have pay TV broadcast deals which fund the competition.
That's
now,
right.
To play in the Australian Baseball League, we pay the best part of $100,000 to compete, and then you have to look to try and get a broadcast on top of that, which the league funds. So there's no incentive to play, whereas for all of those other competitions, the incentive is to play because that's how you get paid. For us, the incentive is actually not to play because it doesn't cost you any money, and you sit out for a year, and hopefully no one goes broke. And so it's a tough one. We feel really sorry for the other teams in the league that have been working for the last few months, preparing to play, getting players signed, putting all the arrangements in place that cost money, that cost people time and effort, and to ultimately not have a season is obviously really disappointing. It's good for us because we sit back and we go, well, no matter what happens, we weren't going to be playing. It doesn't work for us. None of our rivals are going to go broke. None of the league's not going to go broke, and we're all going to be able to sit here this time next year and compete hard against each other without risk of that not happening now. So look, the teams, the Aussie teams will look to try and do some put together some baseball for their fans where they can, and we will still look to try and participate in some baseball somewhere, somehow, if possible. But it all comes down to what the local government requirements are at each destination and what's financially viable. And by taking away that commitment of absolutely having to do it come what may, now it becomes, what's a smart choice and what's possible.
So what if you do get to play, a couple of games in anger, what's the side going to look like? Is it largely going to be New Zealand and Australia-based side?
Probably, yeah. And I think the league, had it gone ahead, the ABL without us, most of the teams wouldn't have had a great deal of imports. I mean, there were one or two. Melbourne were really organised, and they got the ball rolling much earlier in the piece when it came to some of their imports. So I think they were set up well had the season gone ahead, and hats up to them for being that organised. But it is extremely costly. So the cost of getting players here, just to give fans a bit of an idea, the cost of getting players here this year from the United States to New Zealand to play would be greater than the cost of actually paying the player for the 3 or 4 months that they're here. So the salary cap is almost out the window. It's just what is affordable. So I think you'd find there'd still be imports in the league, but a lot less of them, and it would be much more a New Zealand, Australia looking based league.
Now the other thing that the Tuatara have been busy building in the background while there's no ABL action is the Tuatara Pathways program. Now, we've seen that it is actually a real opportunity for young players to bridge that gap and play in the ABL and get to the Major League Baseball. We've seen it already this year with Yoni Hernandez, who, was a Tuatara player back in 1920 and this year played for the Texas Rangers. So it's having this Pathways program, I think it's magnificent for the young up-and-coming Kiwi kids.
Oh, mate, absolutely. I mean, we go back to when we were a bit younger. It would have been an amazing opportunity if this existed. When most of us were starting out playing the game, it is a great opportunity. Some of the kids that are getting signed now, so we've seen Tyrone Bowler Taylor Irwin and Cooper Grant so far signed. There'll be plenty of others coming in the coming weeks. Some of those players have probably got to a point where they're ready to go on. I think both Tyrone and Cooper are hoping to go to college. And fingers crossed they get that. Now, they will have achieved that essentially without the Tuatara Pathways program being there helping them. This is more for the next crop of kids that are coming through behind them, helping them hopefully go to college. For some people like Taylor Irwin, who openly talked that US and college wasn't an option for him, it's a way to fast track his progress so that he could become an ABL regular. We want to have a core group of Kiwis, like the Bandits have done, a core group of international quality Kiwis living in New Zealand, certainly through the summer months every year, that are part of the Tuatara fabric every year. And they drive the culture. They're ABL standard, and we're getting there. We saw Andrew Mark and Elliot Johnston take significant steps forward last time round, so that 2019-20 season, and they weren't just players playing in the ABL. They performed admirably at a high quality level in the ABL. Now, if we can get 8 to 10 local players doing that all together, then the Tuatara is set up to be a force to be reckoned with.
Now, sorry, mate, for someone from the outside looking in, Budgie, where are you getting these kids from? Are they coming from schools? Are they coming from clubs? Are they starting early? Are you getting them from other sports? Where are you plucking the young kids from, and what's their motivation to play? Is it basically because they're seeing it more on TV, because of the Tuatara itself? It's a new game. What are their motivations to play baseball as opposed to other sports that are big sports over here?
So the kids that we're signing, it's a mixture. They're coming from club baseball. You have to be playing baseball in New Zealand to be eligible. You've got to be between the ages of 18 and no older than 23 when the program starts to be part of it. So once you hit that 23, the following year you're no longer eligible. You either have made it, you've made the steps, or you did someone else's turn to have a go. So. Look, I think hats up to those that have been before us. I think Baseball New Zealand over a long period of time done a great job growing the game. A lot of these players picked it up before the Tuatara came about. So as I say, this crop is the start point. It's more the kids that'll come behind that we think will possibly be Tuatara influenced. They would have seen this on TV. They'd see that it's a pathway for some of the kids. Sure. And hopefully that means a lot more people playing baseball around the country. Again, we thought the success of the Tuatara in the last season would have had a flow-on effect the following summer for Baseball New Zealand, but because of COVID, it's kind of been hard to see whether that actually has translated that well. Every sport, at least anecdotally, from what we can see, is struggling with registration. So player numbers are down across the board at the moment because of this uncertainty. And that's a real shame. But yeah, we're certainly seeing, look at Nelson and what Cooper Grant and that Nelson Heat Baseball Club have done. They're extremely well run. They've got a good program. There's going to be kids coming behind Cooper that are going to be knocking on the door, and that's exciting. And look, there's up to a space for up to 40 kids to be part of this. It starts in April. It will run through until the following March. So it's a sort of 12-month period. And we might announce 10 players or so this side of Christmas. The other spots will be left there for the players in club baseball to earn a spot. And the judgment comes, we'll rely heavily on Baseball New Zealand and their coaches, their high performance coaches, and Dan Tan and Chris Richards to help decide which players deserve a spot in the pathways and who we contract. So that's a bit of it's a start point at the moment. We'd hope to expand it, but it's pretty exciting opportunity. These kids are going to get high level coaching. They're going to get off-season programs. There'll be training camps. They'll have video feedback from the Tuatara coaches based in the US. We've obviously got a relationship with scouts that have the ability to get these players in front of clubs and universities and whatnot. So the impact on the sport overall should be significant in time.
The landscape's certainly changed, as you touched on there, for young kids wanting to play baseball and wanting to take their baseball further now. In years gone by, basically, we had to send our best players off to the States, but the real pathways that there are now in the game locally and in Australia means you don't have to go to college in the States to try and forge a career in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. There's certainly a haves and a have-nots mentality before, like it's costly to get those kids you talk about to the US, to colleges. And so, some families weren't in a position to be able to fund it. I mean, we look at Jason Matthews being a prime example who, grew up, unfortunately, a tragic backstory, lost his parents when he was young. His eldest sister raised him, did a remarkable job, putting everything she had into his education and his baseball career, and a remarkable story that that he's managed to do what he's done. But not every kid is as fortunate as Jason is in terms of having the support around him, and so it has been a haves and have not sort of model for a while. That is changing. Look, the pathway to get to the majors has got a lot tougher. I mean, there are less minor league teams playing. It's more cutthroat. COVID has changed the landscape, and as baseball adjusts, you're seeing minor league baseballers, the need to look after them better, and the onus being on those major league clubs to do a better job while they're not playing at the major level, is going to mean there's less opportunity. The ones that are there are going to be looked after better, but there'll be less opportunity for some players. So that's why having this here as a backup. I mean, Elliot Johnston and Ben Thompson, Kyle Glogowski and the like have gone over. They've signed contracts with major league clubs, which is awesome. And look, fingers crossed for those guys that it works out and that they ultimately make it to the majors. If they don't and it doesn't work out, well, there's opportunities back here now, which there weren't a couple of years ago. So for those kids that just are not in a position to afford to go to college, or it's just not for them, it's just not a lifestyle that they want, then there's opportunities to still be a professional baseball player in this part of the world.
Yeah, well, quite obviously somebody like Scott Campbell, who ultimately had to retire through injury, but had the Tuatara been around when he retired, he possibly could have extended his career by another 2 or 3 years.
Mate, we would still talk to Scott Campbell now if he wanted to. It's not for a lack of conversation there. Scott Campbell was, incredible talent, and such a shame injury robbed him. He would have been a major league player, would have been the first New Zealand born and bred and developed player to make it to the majors, and still has plenty to offer. His body just couldn't handle the rigors of a season-long campaign. But for a shorter period, like we saw at World Baseball Classic a few years back, he's still immense talent, and even at a sort of advanced age these days, I'm sure if he wanted to, he'd still be a pretty talented player. So, exactly. There's opportunity. I mean, Andrew Mark and Jamie Wilson, Dantan, a lot of those sort of players that were around 10, 15 years ago as youngsters bursting onto the scene with plenty of talent. For them, the option was go to the States, but that meant leaving a life at home behind. It meant leaving family, partners, opportunities behind. That's not for everyone. Some players are that driven and they're so solely focused on baseball that you can commit to that and be selfish. But for others, it's not. And now those sorts of players have an opportunity to still play, and I think that's pretty cool.
You recently spoke with Elliot Johnson about his short time over there. What were some of the things that he talked about?
Mate, look, he had a ball. This is a kid that's lived and breathed baseball. He grew up with 2 older brothers who are very, very talented, a great family, a very, very close-knit family that support each other really well. And so Elliot was, being the youngest, the third one along, he had the benefit of having those older brothers, play with those older brothers when, that the age is such an advantage. And so as he developed probably at a quicker rate than his brothers did. Yeah. And so, for him to live out that dream and be able to go to, and not just sign a contract with a big league club, but to sign with a glamour club like the Mets is pretty cool. And it's a win for the whole family. I think everyone involved in baseball New Zealand is absolutely thrilled for them, because it really has been a family effort. And Elliot's the one that's got the opportunity, but he's got it because of the work that his brothers and his parents and that have delivered for him. So we're stoked. He's a great guy, Elliot, as you know, Ian, and humble and just everything we like in a sporting hero. So living out his dream. He did battle a little bit of injury this year, and so it was more of an introduction just to get to know, I guess, the people, get to know the organisation a wee bit. He'll go back for spring training, and he should be fully fit and healthy by then. And the 2022 season is going to be a big one for him. He'll get an opportunity to play and compete, and we'll certainly be cheering him on. I think in an ideal world, he'd love to have come back and played in the ABL this year, as would a lot of players, a lot of the Tuatara players, either past or Tuatara players that potentially will play for us in the future, wanted to play in the ABL, but unfortunately that's obviously not possible now.
Are there any of those guys from that team that made the playoffs back in 1920? Some of the imports in those, we've already spoken about Yoni, and he's made the big leagues. Any of those other guys close to or still in systems over there?
As I said, it is getting harder. Look, the short answer is yes, there are. Josh Morgan has had another injury setback, which hurt. I think he broke a bone in his foot, which ruined any chances he had of progressing. But I mean, the talent is clearly there with Josh. He ended up at the Seattle Mariners. The Rangers were forced to release him. The Mariners wanted to use him back as a catcher with obviously a bat that they could use in a DH spot. And potentially on a bench where he could fill a number of positions. I think had injury not robbed him, he might have been knocking on the door. But again, it'll be sort of start from scratch, unfortunately for him because of that injury. Jared Walker signed and was with the Texas Rangers, which was neat because there's obviously the connection there with Mincy and the Rangers organisation. I think largely signed for his leadership and to impart some of his experiences on younger players while leaving the door open for him to continue to push his own career. Johnny Holmes is certainly well thought of in the Padres organisation, working his way up. And then Jared Koenig was the other one who's had a really, really good season. I'd say of all the players that are a chance of playing in the majors next year, I mean, Yanni's obviously already been there, so you'd say he's a very likely chance. I think Jared Koenig's probably the most likely. He's had a really, really good season with the A's and is thought of highly there. So, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, Yanni Hernandez, of all the players we had out here, was probably not the first one that most people would nominate as the guy most likely to play. But what a story that was. He'd had a tough run trying to get there. It didn't appear that it was coming anytime soon. He lost his mum back in Venezuela through COVID, wasn't able to get back. His dad was really sick as well, wasn't able to get back for a funeral. So the heartbreak of that, and then to find out a few days later that, hey, you're getting called up to the majors and you're going to spend the rest of the year there. What a story, we're absolutely delighted for him.
And working for a manager that we know very well here in New Zealand, Chris Woodward.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, I wouldn't mind having a chat to Chris at some point just to cover off that connection. Obviously, has a soft spot for New Zealand given his connections here, and great bloke. And fingers crossed the Rangers will have a good off season and give them some players to make a bit of a run next year, maybe.
Quite right. Back on the home front, more good news for the Tuatara organisation. Pure Athletic back on board.
Exciting for us. That relationship's been really good. Chris does a great job. He provides, exciting looking gear that people love. I mean, it just blows you away at times tripping around New Zealand, wearing some of the other hats that I wear, working in other sports and seeing Tuatara merchandise popping up here, there and everywhere. People love it. People love the logo. We had SENZ Radio the other day talking about it being one of the coolest sports logos around. And Chris has done an awesome job with that, and the arrangement we have works really well for us. Local North Shore businessman with a local North Shore business just down the road from us. We sort of go hand in hand, and the passion is there. So we're stoked to have them back. And hats up to New Balance who are on board to support the Pathways program as the major sponsor there. Yep. We're going to have a really cool initiative. I'll talk about it more maybe in coming months, but they'll kit out all the players in New Balance gear, New Balance cleats and whatnot, and we'll do it in a way that doesn't impact any of those players potentially going off to college and getting incentives or whatever to play, which we have to think about. So it's been a really cool initiative that New Balance and the Tuatara have come up with there to make sure that that's all hunky dory.
Very good. Well, 2 games into the World Series now. It's an even contest so far. The Braves picking up game 1 and Houston fighting back with game 2. How do you see this one going?
Oh, mate, I'm the last person you need to ask. I had the Rays winning it all, and they got
No, Mac is the last.
So.
Mac is the last person you want to ask.
Yeah, well, you want to go with the Yankees. That didn't probably work too well. So.
No.
Oh, look, mate. I'll just call it ourselves. I think the Braves. I like the Braves through the. Just watching the championship series, the National League Championship series. I thought they seem to have most answers. I just think they're a little more rounded. The pitching is good. They've got a game in Houston. They've got a win there, which they needed to do. You don't want to go back home 0-2 down, so go back 1-1. If they can win, say, 2 out of 3 at home, then you think that they're in pretty good position. And I just like the story. I've struggled with the Astros, obviously, given the controversy there, and they won one a few years back. They've been to a couple of World Series in recent times. It's been a long time between drinks for the Braves.
A long time.
In the 90s. And
99, I think it was, wasn't it?
Mate, who wouldn't want to see Freddie Freeman win a World Series?
Absolutely.
Aussie Orbeez,
Yeah.
He
He's
seems
great
like
too.
such a fan favourite. And,
Yeah.
and to do it without Ronald Acuna Jr.,
Yeah.
arguably the best player in baseball, and he goes down with an ACL injury mid-year, and you think, well, that's them done.
Yeah.
And
They made some great trade moves, though, didn't they?
at the deadline, terrific. And they've got talk about value for money, man.
Yeah.
What a Jock Pederson and
Absolutely.
Eddie Rosario.
Can you tell me what the hell's going on with those pearls? What the hell?
Yeah, I don't know. It's strange, isn't it?
What is
Strange.
that? Wearing pearl.
I mean, I don't want to get into the whole racism thing and whether that's right or not, but the way that the crowd get in behind it at Atlanta and the chop on thing and the singing it's
great,
cool.
eh?
I get that there might be a question mark of whether it's.
Well, they don't have the
whether
foam
it's acceptable
tomahawks
these days,
anymore. They don't have the. They used to have the foam tomahawks, didn't they?
Yeah,
They got rid of those. So
I just love the participation thing.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to see Atlanta win it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. The cheating Houston Astros can just sit and sulk. I know my mate Martin won't be happy with that, but tough shit.
To me,
it has been a great series. Shame for Charlie Morton in game 1. He still pitched half an inning on a broken leg.
he did.
Struck out the side, I think, too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like phenomenal, isn't it? Like, that comebacker, it hits him. It looked like it might be sore, but
Yeah.
he had a fracture and pitched on, and it looked like he was going to give it away in the middle of the whatever inning it was, and then decided, bugger, I'll come back out and have another go. I think it was the middle of the second, wasn't it? And came back out and had another go. What a performance, and
Threw a couple of mid-90s fastballs.
Yeah, and you can see him reeling back in pain as he put the weight on that landing foot.
It brought back memories of Kurt Schilling, didn't it? With the bloody sock all those years ago.
I don't know what you're talking about.
They got way too much airtime. Not that I'm a Yankees fan.
Yeah, well, I had money on the Dodgers winning it all, so I'm not one to.
That's cool.
I'm not one to pick results, but I would love to see the Braves win it. Even if just for our good mate Clint Barclay.
Yeah, exactly. Hat tip to Clint.
Now, normally we would go into our big issues section, but because we've got Budgie on the show, we'll tap into a bit of his league knowledge. So, Aaron, take it away.
All right, mate. So the league, the big questions in the league thing at the moment is the Warriors recruitment boss Peter O'Sullivan. The first loss to the Dolphins has happened already. He's gone to the Dolphins. He's joining Wayne Bennett there. Now, when we talked to you earlier in the year, Budgie, you told me that the recruitment was the big problem for the Warriors anyway, and you said that you didn't like the roster and you didn't think it had improved a hell of a lot anyway. So is this a big loss for the Warriors, losing him to the Dolphins?
It depends what they do in terms of replacing him. I'll quantify that. Look, I haven't been sold on their recruitment, though. Having said that, the back end of the year, they did make some good moves, and they have got a roster next year where there really isn't any excuses. That should be a playoff roster.
Okay, I like that.
I think
what you're saying there.
Johnson coming back makes a difference. It was a no-brainer. It was a shame that he had to leave in the first place, but a no-brainer. On
the money
signing.
for sure.
And I'm glad that they put whatever differences there were aside, and both parties were able to do that because this is the right fit for him. There's a little bit of a risk. He's now slightly more advanced in terms of his age and coming off some injury concerns. So But if he's healthy, I think the Warriors, with the other pieces of puzzle. I mean, the Reece Walsh signing was a terrific signing, and
Absolutely.
I like the kid. I'm impressed. Yes, he's young. Yes, he's made some mistakes, and he needs to be punished. And I'm glad he was punished for what he did. But I like the way that he front-footed it. He owned it. He didn't make excuses. It was all on him, and he was prepared to take that. And I think they've got a real talent there. If they can build a side around him, that team could be quite handy. Adam Fanua-Blake, getting Lodge, okay, Brisbane. I don't know what on earth Brisbane are doing, but Brisbane certainly help when they're paying half his salary, and
absolutely,
and you get a top quality prop for bugger all now,
and we get to test him out. I mean, there was question marks. Can he move sideways? Is he the most mobile guy? I think he did bloody well.
Yeah, I think
he lost his head there in that match. Where Kane Evans completely lost the plot. I mean, everyone was losing the plot in that game. But no, I think he shows real promise. With those two bookends, I mean, we've got to start, haven't we? We've got to start him before back. And then you've got Murdoch Masilla. We got rid of Kane Evans. We got rid of Fisatua and Marmolo. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's interesting. I'll just touch on that. So the Adam Fanua-Blake signing, I think potential. He's the best prop in the game.
Oh, I agree.
The question mark around his signing was A, could he be healthy? B, could he behave himself? Because there was significant question marks there. I saw some real signs this year that Adam Fanua-Blake has taken the right steps, giving him the captaincy to fill in there, albeit for a short period of time. I think sat pretty well with him, and maybe that'll turn out to be a really, really good signing, because he will take the team forward. He's heading to the peak of his powers in terms of his career. Could be a great signing. And if they can do the same with Lodge, if they can just get that discipline under control, man, they have got a platform there with the right players around them. Katoa and Tohu Harris is just the most underrated player in the competition.
Oh, absolutely.
There's not a lot of areas that are weak. Montoya was a good pickup. Fisatua and Marmolo, do they lose something? Yeah, absolutely. They were good wingers, but they overpaid for those guys when they desperately needed them, because they didn't have any go forward and they relied on big outside backs to get their sets going. Now they're not so reliant on that. I actually don't mind. It's a shame that Fisatua was going, but he was on a hefty contract.
He was.
And if that allows them to now replace him with a value...
They've signed Kossi, haven't they? The young fella.
Yeah, who's a
Fisatua light at the moment, isn't he? I mean,
a few years behind, exactly. Now, if they can replace that, and then they save themselves some money so they can find a longer term hooker option, they might be away, because hooker's probably now the glaring hole.
Of course it is. Now, I've never been a fan of our current hooker, and obviously the haptic cheese is coming on the market. I would love to have him in a Warriors shirt. I mean, he's from Waiheke Island. Come on, he's a local boy. Get him back here playing for the Warriors. What do you say, Dale?
Oh, he would be a great signing. There won't be a shortage of clubs lining up for him.
Oh, I know. They said he's basically gone to market. His manager has gone to market and said, best offer on the table from all the clubs. So he's going to go.
Where have we heard that before?
Yeah. Look, it depends what the Warriors want to do there. I mean, they're going after Joey Manu. And again, I don't necessarily...
Are they?
By all accounts, they're all in on Joey Manu.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind that. Manu going to fullback, Walsh into the halves with Johnson. I think that could work. But you do spend a lot of your cap then on those. There's not much else to go around. So if they were to dip out on Manu, then yes, I think Brandon Smith for sure. And man, what a popular signing that would be. It'd certainly get people back to Mount Smart whenever the Warriors were able to finally play there again. I have my concerns. I love Brandon Smith. He's one of my most favourite players to watch in the competition. But the way he plays, I think time will catch up with him a lot earlier in his career than it will with others. I just think he plays tough. The wear and tear on his body will happen quicker than it will on other players. So I'd be a little dubious about how long a contract could be. If it was 2-3 years, absolutely, I think that would be a really good fit. If it was much longer than that, I would worry a little bit about the back end of it. Is he the best fit in terms of style? I'm not sure. It would be a big improvement on what they've got.
It would be.
I think Reid Marnie would be a better fit.
But how are we going to get him? Let's be honest. He's a younger man. He's on his way. Yeah, I love Reid Marnie. Fantastic player. He's the Parramatta hooker, for those that don't know. Fantastic player. He got injured near the end of the... I think, actually, if he had have stayed fit, Parramatta could have made it all the way to the finals.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Reid Marnie is definitely the best hooker on the market.
Yeah.
And if the Warriors could find a way, he might not come quite with the profile that Brandon Smith does.
He wouldn't.
And so in some ways, perhaps the asking price might not be as high, or the fight for him might not be as high. But I think the Dolphins will... Depends. I think a lot of what will happen here is, what do the Dolphins do? Where do they spend their money? Where's their marquee money go? And if it goes to either Brandon Smith or Reid Marnie, both of them are options for him. Do they have a crack at Joey Manu? Are they all in for Munster? Bring Cameron Munster home.
Apparently
it might flow on, and that'll impact what the Warriors can do. But yeah, I think Joey Manu will be their number one target. I personally think hookers should be their biggest priority, and Brandon Smith would tick a fair few boxes. Absolutely.
And the final one is Chanel Harris-Tavita. There's talk that he may be on his way out. Have you heard anything?
Yeah, it certainly appears so. Look, I'm a little surprised. I think in an ideal world, Nick Arima would be the guy that you'd want to offload. He's on a ridiculously big salary for the return that they're getting. I didn't agree with the signing in the first place, and I don't think it's worked. And moving forward, he's the one that they would most like to probably push on and save themselves the biggest amount of money. You don't save a lot of money by moving Chanel Harris-Tavita on, and you do give up a player that's handy. My doubts whether he's, in an ideal world, he'd be in your top, he'd be one of your top starting halves. If they could land Joey Manu, for example, they don't need Harris-Tavita in your 17, but he's not on such massive money, and for the moment, I still think he's the best option to partner Sean Johnson once the season starts. So
absolutely,
I wouldn't be in a hurry to offload him.
Yeah, more of an upside than someone like Nick Arima. I mean, Nick Arima, he plateaued. I mean, he started well, didn't he? And then near the end of the year, just didn't really do much at all. I know he had other things on his mind. I think he had family issues, etc. And there is also talk that he wants to go back to Brisbane as well. So. I mean, I suppose it's where the
trying to
Warriors
fast track that. Yeah. Look, he's off contract at the end of. He's only contracted for next year, so the Warriors are basically free after 2022 of that deal. I can't for the life of me see them bringing him back unless he was coming back on a significantly reduced playing contract.
Okay, well, cause for optimism for Warriors fans, according to Dale Budge there.
I think they make the 8. I think they're a genuine top 8 side next year, and
it's our year.
Anything other than a top 8 finish would be.
Mate, I will take it. I will take it. Just give me playoff football, please.
I'll just give us some football at Mount Smart.
Oh, mate. Tell me about it. Just some live league, eh? Some live league.
Before we let you go, Budgie, one of our big issues, I'm going to bring this one up now before you go. A group of former rugby league players are planning to sue England's governing body of the sport for negligence over what they say was a failure to protect them from the risks of concussion during their careers. Now, the group's represented by a firm which has also launched an action on behalf of ex-Rugby Union players against World Rugby, the Rugby Football Union, and the Welsh Rugby Union. Now, one of those players included in the group is former Wigan, St Helens and Great Britain half Bobby Goulding, who has been diagnosed with early onset dementia and a probable progressive brain condition thought to be caused by repeated blows to the head. Now, we've seen plenty of instances over the years of players with bad head injuries not knowing where they are, heading off in another direction. The Dean Lonergan situation. It's really got to the stage now where not just rugby league and rugby union, but a lot of sports have got to do something about it, don't they?
Yeah, it does. It's a real worry for anyone that likes combat sport or contact sport of any kind. I think I heard football players talking about concussion from headers, and it's
football's the worst.
Yeah, like it's a worry. Like I don't know what the answer is. I mean, what are the leagues supposed to do? It's a byproduct of the game we play, and the rules have always been you can't tackle it around the head. The rules have always been there to protect foul play and whatnot. But I guess it's just having a protocol like they've got now with the HIA system, or where you have to follow it to the nth degree and make sure that those players, you're protecting them from themselves. It's an issue across sport. I mean, it's obviously a big issue for the big professional sports because money is there and a payout. I mean, I'm sure most of them are doing it to get a payout. It's not to get a result as such or to try and break the sports, but we've seen it in the NFL and big payouts there, and I imagine we'll see something similar on same to scale with rugby and rugby league. but it is a problem. I mean, I've had concussions playing. I didn't play at a high level. I played club footy and got knocked out a couple of times. And, I don't think you ever play with someone that wasn't brave enough to keep playing on after you had a head knock. The brave guy now is the one that actually says, hang on a sec, I got a genuine whack then, and I need to do what's best for my family,
absolutely,
or my long-term health, and I need to sit down for a bit. And,
absolutely, or the friend that says, "Hey, mate, you're not right," and takes them aside, because half the time, if you're concussed, you don't even remember anyway, mate. You just stand back up and keep playing anyway. I mean, that's the thing. And the thing with concussions, I mean, okay. When you're talking about historical sports, if you watched league, okay, so Bobby Gilding growing up, I mean, he's about my age. So growing up in the early 70s, if you watched rugby league in the early 70s, don't tell me you watched that sport, Bobby, and thought that it was safe, because people were getting smashed all the time. There were fights on the field. It was bloody brutal. So to now sue and say, "Oh, I didn't know it was dangerous," I just like saying, okay, the Formula One car drivers in the 60s and 70s that died or was scarred, or whatever, we didn't know it was dangerous. Look, you were going around at 200 miles an hour in a little tin can. You knew it was dangerous. You took the chance. I mean, that's the thing. I think I feel sorry for these people when the result of their love, the thing that they do, that they love the most, causes them these issues. But I just feel that it's a little bit rich for them to come out and say, "We didn't know the risks. We didn't know." I just think they did.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, to be honest. I think, you play the game knowing there's an element of risk. You talk to those Formula One drivers and, man, I remember talking to Chris Amon before he passed away. He was lucky he got to an old age before he did something else killed him, but so many of his friends were killed doing what they loved. But that was the sport, that was the risks they were willing to take. They knowingly chose to play on. We had James Graham, talk about, and this is an era where we know that, the evidence is overwhelming that concussions lead to long-term health loss and serious consequences. And James Graham was prepared to play on despite that. He was prepared to waive his right to follow protocol. He didn't want it. So, look, I hope these combat sports now take it seriously and that it has an impact moving forward. But I do kind of agree that what happened in the past is in the past, and while it's tough for those people that have suffered, they also knowingly went in and took that risk.
Yeah.
Well, are we getting to the stage now where when you sign a new contract with a club, is there going to be a waiver in there that you say any potential head injury or that further, in 20 years' time, you're not going to come back and sue us?
Quite possibly. I mean, I know, like, just club football, I'm involved with club rugby. I think we've got to a point at club land now where when you talk about the hierarchy and, forever and a day, the coach was the top dog in club rugby, had final say. Now the coach answers to a physio. The physio is in charge. Physio has final say on whether a player can play or not. The coach gets to pick the players that are available.
That he says are available. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and look, that's changing across the country. So, I mean, it's cool.
The other thing too is that the likes of Rugby Union, Rugby League, players are so much bigger and faster now, aren't they? And, the clashes that happen on the field are likened to small car accidents. When you look at...
So even if there's no head involved, it's two bodies smashing into each other.
Look, Colin Meads will go down as arguably our greatest, or one of our greatest ever rugby players. He wouldn't make most club sides these days. When you look at his physical presence and compare that to the modern player who works out. These guys do it for a living. He worked on the farm.
Absolutely.
He had a job that and a family, and then I played rugby on the side. Most of the modern players, all they do is play rugby. They work out in the gym. They've got these physiques that are honed from teen years.
Absolutely.
Comparison I always make is Murray Maxted, who was considered a big man when he was playing for the All Blacks in the late 70s, early 80s. Number 8. He was a big man at 95 kilos.
Oh, geez, look at halfbacks now. They're all 100 kilos.
Look at
6'2"
kilos.
Look at the heavyweight boxing. And you had Tyson Fury, 6'9", taking on a 6'7" guy. Muhammad Ali was 6'2", 6'3". It was nowhere near the size. So, we're just bigger all over. You've got your diet, you've got your nutrition, you've got the all the physical. So, you've got the science behind you now. People are just bigger, and they're making bigger impacts into each other, aren't they? It's just
and that's perhaps where the game has to. And people that call for bring back the biff and that we're too strict on high tackles and whatnot. I mean, the game's got to adapt, otherwise it will die. And so we as fans need to adapt with it and understand the rationale behind it and try and come up with new strategies to, if the game maybe rugby needs to look at going away from 15-man code. I know it's been what what we've always done, but defense is so good these days. People study and study and study opposition teams to the nth degree, so that to break a defense apart is so much more difficult than it was. We need to bring fatigue back into the game, and so perhaps we need to create more space.
That's when they bring the league defense coaches in, don't they?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Or that'll grow the field size, or something to that effect to combat it.
It was brought up recently about the number of reserves coming onto the field in a game of rugby. Players are just not being given the opportunity to fatigue. And those that are left on the field are being hit by a fresh 120 kilogram prop who's just come off the bench and had his feet up for an hour. And the other guy's been on the field for an hour and is probably starting to get a bit rooted.
Yeah. Again, rugby leagues looked at this. They've changed the interchange law over the last 20 years. Multiple times went from, at one point we had unlimited interchange to. I wonder whether we need to get to a football style. Certainly with rugby, whether we get to a football style situation where you can name your 7 or 8 man bench, but you can only make 3 changes, and perhaps it's only, it takes the strategy out a wee bit. It's more for injury cover, and we bring fatigue back into the game.
Do you go back to the old days where you could only replace a player for injury, and a doctor had to approve it?
Maybe appoint independent doctors. I don't know.
You're exactly right, Pudgy.
Last one before you go. The animal rights organisation PETA wants baseball to change the bullpen to the arm barn. Apparently, words matter, and baseball bullpens devalue talented players and mock the misery of sensitive animals, according to PETA Executive Vice President Tracy Riemann. PETA encourages Major League Baseball coaches, announcers, players and fans to change up their language and embrace the arm barn instead. Okay, so we better get rid of stud as well. Get rid of stud. He's not a stud anymore. He's just a good thrower. Anyway,
look, I'll leave you with this. Our mascot at the Auckland Tuatara, Tama, was recently voted the best international mascot in baseball by a group.
Congratulations, Tama.
Yeah, Tama the Tuatara. I talked to Tama recently. He was thrilled about it. He does talk, not often. Mascot. Yeah, he talks. He admits that he may have blown out a wee bit last summer. He ate from the top shelf and he'd let himself go a wee bit, but he's already working hard to get back in great shape for next year. Conditioning. Okay. And I'd just like to check with you, Budgie. Has Tama and Regan Wood been seen in the same room at the same time? Once or twice. Yeah. Oh, well, there we go. Yeah, I'm not sure about his son, though. Not sure about his son. Anyway, it's been great to have you on the pod. You're a valued guest, and we, excuse me, welcome you back anytime soon. And you did talk about some news that could be coming up fairly shortly, so we'll make sure we get you on and break that news on the Hot Air Sports Podcast. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your support. Cheers, Budgie. We'll talk to you again soon. See ya. Well, that was certainly interesting, and congratulations to Tama the Tuatara. A talking mascot. You don't get them too often, do you? No, you certainly don't. Hey? Certainly don't. Do things different in Tuatara land. Quite right. On to the big issues. We've talked about one already, obviously. Yeah. Another one that has certainly been interesting over the last few days. Adelaide United's Josh Cavallo, the first professional footballer to come out as gay while still playing since former Norwich and Nottingham Forest striker Justin Fashion, who shocked the world in 1990. Since then, only ex-Aston Villa and German midfielder Thomas Hitzelsberger, as he came out after he'd finished the game. Yeah. Former England striker and TV pundit Gary Lineker has praised Cavallo and at the same time said, "It's absurd that coming out is a brave thing to do in football. It is, though, and I'm full of admiration for Josh for
for treading a path. Hopefully many others will follow. I'm sure the overwhelming majority of football lovers will support him and erase the fear others may have. In other pro sports, Las Vegas Raiders' Carl Nassib became the first NFL player to come out as gay, while the NHL's National Predators' Luke Prokop made the same announcement in July. Don't we now live in a society where this shouldn't matter? Why do many sports people, male and female, feel that they can't come out to their teammates and the world? I mean, it is 2021.
It's so weird, eh, man? 1990, so that's 31 years ago. The Justin Fashanu came out, and that was completely different. That was completely different. He came out because there was rumors and all that sort of thing. He was almost forced to come out because there was rumors of news stories going to break that he'd been seen in gay nightclubs, etc., and completely different. Now, 31 years later, I mean, I've got gay friends. I consider them some of my closest individual friends. You've got gay friends. I'm sure you do. They're human beings. Who gives a shit? I mean, I don't care. I don't care what you do in the privacy of your own bedroom, and you probably don't care what I do. And quite frankly, I don't want to know. I mean, why is it such an issue? I guess it comes back to because it's sport, you know? Yeah. Sport's a machoistic sort of thing. And they feel that they're going to be somehow weakened by it. But I think you've got to embrace who you are. You're weakened if you're not saying who you are, eh?
Yeah,
if you're lying about who you are. So good on this guy, man. I hope it encourages other people to do it. I've never understood why people can't. I have been kind of confused as to why there's a lack of people with the balls to do it. But, you know, good on this guy. I mean, someone's got to start it, and I just hope it becomes a tidal wave. I hope everyone can just get on with it.
Absolutely. And to be honest, I mean, we do see it more in female sports. They seem less inhibited by coming out. And yeah, I can't see why
it's puzzling.
It's named for male sports people.
It is puzzling unless there's an inherent anti-gay thing behind the scenes with the owners, I really don't know. But when you look at the amount of positive feedback that this guy's got based on the decision he's made, I mean, he must be feeling fucking great. He must be good. He's probably sleeping like a baby. He's probably thinking this is the best thing I've ever done. So hopefully he can be a leader for more people.
The post he put on Instagram announcing his it's unbelievable. 8.6 million views or something like that.
And he's got messages from Jordan Henderson, Claude Piol, like lots of people from around the world. Gerard Piqué, lots of people just saying, good on you, man. And it's great to see. It's just bizarre that it's even a thing, really.
It is. Yeah. Well, it's the same as people referring to gay marriage. It's marriage.
Well, as soon as gay marriage got approved, mate, I just said, well, I suppose the race is on for the first gay divorce, isn't it, really? Let's be honest. I mean, marriage. Why don't we want gay people to get married?
Exactly.
Why would heterosexual people be bothered by gay people being married?
Unfortunately, there are too many around that are. Anyway, we won't talk about them.
Battle is brewing between Australian Open organisers, mate, and the Victorian state government and federal government over vaccination status again. A document from the Open officers was leaked earlier in the week saying that unvaccinated players could play in the tournament if they did 2 weeks MIQ. But State Premier Daniel Hunt said no unvaccinated players will be allowed in Melbourne, while the country's Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, has added fuel to the fire by saying that Australia must show a little bit of flexibility around the issue if they want to continue to host major events. So who's got it right?
I think they've all got it right and they've all got it wrong, really. I can certainly see where the Victorian Premier is coming from. Obviously, you know, their numbers had started to drop, but just in the last few days, they're back up around the 2,000 daily cases again. He wants to get rid of COVID. I mean, obviously, as we've seen in New Zealand, we're starting to abandon our elimination policy and just going with, well, looks like we're just going to live with this for the next however many years, however, long it goes on for. And I don't normally agree with Scott Morrison. He's a bit of a clown. But yes, I think if you do want to host major events, you're going to have to be a bit more flexible. And I don't really see a problem with unvaccinated players playing as long as they do the 2 weeks MIQ and as long as they get tested every day.
Yeah, what's the difference? If you know they haven't got COVID and they're being tested every day, if there's a false test, I completely understand. But if they're doing 2 weeks isolation anyway and they're being tested there, don't really see what the issue is. But I do sort of understand as well. Like you say, get vaccinated, or maybe they just have to make a slight change for this year, because next year I would suggest everyone will be vaccinated anyway. I mean, you'd hope.
Yeah, well,
we don't say everyone. It's everyone except for some people. I'm not going to say who those people are, but some people won't be.
We don't want to mention Brian Tamaki's name.
Yeah, or a few others. Apparently, I just saw a sports story. I just popped up on my newsfeed a second ago, mate. Storm prop Nelson Asofa Solomona has said that he doesn't want the COVID-19 vaccine, and looks like he may be kicked out of the Storm. Well, so this is just going to be an issue ongoing in all sports.
Yep.
If people want to make that choice, that's fine. They can make that choice, but they will suffer financially, and they'll probably suffer as far as their occupation goes as well. I mean, and socially as well. I mean, I'm sure most people, if they know that you've lost your job because you won't be vaccinated, probably not going to be too happy with you either, are they?
Not going to get too many barbecue invites.
No.
Anyway, that's the big issues. Obviously, we talked about the dementia issue with Budgie there. Time to talk a bit about football, and it might be an idea for any Man United fans to just stop listening for. I think they probably won't be listening to this episode anyway. I'm just going to sing a wee song. I'm not the greatest singer in the world, but
come on.
Here we go. Ollie's at the wheel. Ollie's at the wheel. Hey ho, the dearie-o. Ollie's at the wheel. Woohoo!
He's got no idea which way he's going.
Well,
I thought you were going to sing. I thought you were going to sing this one. I like it, 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 la la like it. Here we go. Mo has scored 10 in a row.
Quite right. Well, what more can we say about Liverpool's 5-0 demolition of Manchester United last weekend that hasn't already been said? Some of the big points: Mo Salah's hat-trick, obviously. Jordan Henderson's pass to Mo Salah for his third goal. Ronaldo's petulant kick out at Curtis Jones. Pogba's red card. Maguire's mistakes. What now for Ollie, as Ollie's at the wheel?
It was perhaps the best game. I mean, the game of football that made me more happy than any other, except for games involving New Zealand getting to the World Cup. It was just every single thing that could go right went right for us, and every single thing that could go wrong went wrong for them. And it was just hilarious. And when Paul Pogba got sent off and we had 30 minutes to go and they had 10 men, and, we already had a couple of injuries, Klopp was just like, keep it at 0, pass it around, make it embarrassing. And that's what we did. It was like a training round. We were all laying all over. Olé! Quite funny. It's the same name as their coach. It was just magnificent, wasn't it, Macca? I mean, as poor as they were, we were awesome. They were terrible. I mean, I've seen a photo on social media showing us breaking for the first goal, and it's got Luke Shaw running behind Mo Salah, and then all our players, and then all their players behind our players. So
and the referees in front of their players as well.
So this happens when a team decides, right, what are we going to do? How are we going to stop? We're going to take them on at their own game. We're going to press them, even though Manchester United have not done any practice or really, they're not a pressing team. They're a counter-attacking team, but they decided, Ollie came up with a great idea. This is how we're going to beat Liverpool. We're going to press them. We're going to do to them what they do to us. And great idea, Ollie. That's a great idea.
It's been interesting. I've been watching a few YouTube clips this week of the Sky Sports panel talking after the game with Gary Neville, Jermaine Defoe.
They gave it to Gary.
And Jamie Carragher. And poor old Gary Neville. I mean, never really was a big fan of Gary Neville in his playing days. and even in his punditry
I actually
days,
quite like him as a pundit.
he's mellowed a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was on the back foot the whole time.
He didn't know. He didn't know what to do. I mean, the thing is, Ole's his friend, so it's hard for him to call for his head.
Oh, it is.
At the same time, he just has to admit that he's biased. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, just say, look, I'm biased. I used to play for Man United. He's a friend of mine. I'm not going to call for him to be sacked. But that performance wasn't acceptable. And if I was a Man U fan, I'm sorry. I don't care what Ole had done for us. I wouldn't care if I was a Liverpool fan with Steven Gerrard in place. If that performance took place, I would call for his head. I would say, sorry, that's enough. We need to get rid of him. But they haven't sacked him yet, mate. So
no, they haven't sacked him yet.
So let's keep going. Go, Ole. Let's make sure Ole can make it right the way through the season and they finish mid-table, or maybe they get relegated. Who knows? But,
well, quite right. And of course, the board, not that we hear a lot from the Man United board, of their full backing behind Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So
they got their full backing behind him, and then they got on the phone to Antonio Conte straight after.
Yeah, he'll be gone after the Spurs game.
I think so, probably.
A top three now emerging after 9 rounds of the Premier League, with Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City now opening up a 3-point gap on the rest of the field as the cream rises to the top. West Ham leads the charge in 4th, with Brighton and Spurs ahead of 4 teams on 4 points. I won't mention one of those 4 teams. We talked enough about them, I think. Some big games this weekend, with Leicester hosting informer Arsenal. You'd have to actually say they're playing some decent football at the moment, Arsenal.
They are.
That's Chelsea visiting fellow big money club Newcastle. And Spurs hosting surely a determined Manchester United, with Liverpool hosting Brighton and Man City home to Patrick Vieira's Crystal Palace. What games are you looking forward to watching this week?
Looking forward to seeing the Man City Crystal Palace game, to be fair. Crystal Palace of Patrick Vieira, I was a little bit sceptical about whether he could get them to play, but they're playing some really good football as well. So that'd be good. I'd like to see them take a couple of points off Man City. Other than that, I will be watching the Manchester United game just to see if they can play as badly. And of course, Arsenal, there's some good games, isn't there? Arsenal-Leicester, that should be a cracker. Leicester in some good form as well. So that's 2 teams in really good form. And the Chelsea-Newcastle, can Newcastle actually pick up some points and stop themselves from being relegated? So probably the Liverpool game will be further down my list based on these games, mate. Some good Premier League games coming up. But as you say, the cream has certainly risen to the top. The top 3 teams, I think, have been well established. I mean, Manchester United, before we started the season, I think I picked them as 4th. I think that's probably where they'll finish unless they get even worse.
Yeah. So 9 games in, we're essentially a quarter of the way through the season now.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but some of the new players in the league, I think, have really started to fit in well, especially Patson Daka with Leicester City. I think he's doing a great job, and he scored 4 goals the other day in the UEFA Europa League game. I can't remember who they were playing. And he's starting to score regularly in the Premier League too. Conor Gallagher at Crystal Palace is another one that has impressed me.
He's on loan from Chelsea, isn't he?
Yeah, and the guy Mwepu with Brentford, who has scored a couple of key goals for them. I've been
Billy's brother.
Very impressed with.
Billy's brother.
Yeah.
He's the first Maori in the...
Billy Mwepu.
No, there are.
Who are some of the newer players that have impressed you?
Yeah, well, I think I like what Brendan Rodgers does with his recruitment. Yeah, and Patson Daka is a great one. I mean, he's exactly what they need. I mean, they had Ian Archu, who he did pretty well at the end of last season, but he's a bit hot and cold. And if Jamie Vardy isn't banging them in, they just had no one else to score the goals. So now they do. Now they've got someone, and he's equally as pacey as Jamie Vardy, a lot younger, and they needed someone like him. I've been impressed. I was impressed in the Manchester. Let's just bring it back to the Manchester United game, shall we? I've been impressed with Ibrahim Konate in the first. It's only his second big game for Liverpool against Manchester United, and he started a little bit shakily, but then when he made a couple of tackles, and at one stage Ronaldo and him went shoulder to shoulder, and he just went bang and knocked him over. And I thought that gave him confidence, and throughout the game he got better and better. He looks to me like he I mean, he's only in his first season. He's only a few months in as a Liverpool player, but gee, man, he's got all the physical attributes. He is, man. He's a big...
I had to like to smile after the Ronaldo Curtis Jones incident.
Oh, yes.
When all the players gathered around, how I'm just trying to think of the best way to describe. He moved Bruno Fernandes
and Fred. Fred came up to him and went like this.
Out of the way.
Just go over there, little boy.
And Fred came in looking like he was going to swing his arms. And he just turned around and picked him up and moved him back as well.
He did.
It was absolutely classic.
He did, mate. No, it was a fantastic performance. And he's to the manner born. Him and Van Dijk. I mean, he can be there for 10 years, couldn't he? Very impressed with him. As for the other teams, I'm just trying to think. Conor Gallagher is impressive. I mean, he needs a haircut, but he's an impressive player. He's not very old, is he? He's only 20 years old.
No, he's only a young fella, yeah.
And of course, Chelsea have got Chelsea. How many young players have Chelsea been keeping? Their defender who scored in the first week of the
Trevor Chalobah.
Chalobah. He looks impressive as well. They've just got so many young players out on loan, though, don't they?
Yeah, one of the young players that came in last year that we were critical of, Kai Havertz. He's playing a lot better.
He is. He was
found his position now. Lampard was sort of using him in 6-7 different positions.
I know.
But, Thomas Tuchel seems to have found his proper role in the team, and we're actually seeing the real Kai Havertz, and
absolutely
certainly impressing me.
Andy Townsend was sort of bagging him before the game started. He was saying, "Oh, he hasn't shown anything to me. I don't think he's that good a player." And then they went out and banged 6, and I think he got 3 assists. He wasn't well last year. I mean, he got COVID, and then apparently the ongoing side effects of COVID were very hard for him to kick. And he just looks, I mean, I know he's very pale and pasty. He looks like he sleeps in a coffin. But he is a hell of a football player, man. I think I certainly think we haven't seen the best of it. He's just going to get better and better. I hope he doesn't. But he's a classy player, man. And like you say, Thomas Tuchel puts him in the right position. Funny that.
Yeah.
No.
So looks like Barcelona have finally done something.
Yeah, they got rid of their coach finally, Ronald Koeman. He's gone. They lost 1-0 to some
Levante or something like that.
Some side they shouldn't be losing 1-0 to. I know Barcelona aren't this players wise. They're not the same side that they have been over the last few years, but they've still got some handy players. They still shouldn't be losing that badly. And Ronald Koeman, let's be honest, he hasn't got much of a clue. He got sacked by Everton. God knows how he got the Barcelona job, I think, because he used to play for them. So looks like they're bringing in Xavi as a replacement. And at least when he walks through the door, they'll know who he is. And I mean, it's going to be up to him to basically, I mean, first of all, who are they going to? I mean, he's going to have to get some players.
They can't afford to buy anybody.
No, he's going to have to go to the young kids. I mean, that's where they generally have got a lot of players from. Pedri's a handy player. Coutinho's back inside.
I think Ronald Koeman has never quite recovered from the first job he had to do when he started at Barcelona, and that was call Luis Suarez. Yes, that's right. Never quite recovered from that moment.
No, he hasn't. Louis, you can go.
Yep, you're right. Not required.
Yeah, not quite. Holders Man City knocked out of the Carabao Cup, mate. First time in, I think the last time they lost was 2018 in this comp, wasn't it? They got knocked out
4 years ago.
There you go. They got knocked out to West Ham on penalties. First loss in over 4 years. Arsenal, Chelsea, Sunderland, Liverpool, Spurs, Leicester, and Brentford all through to the quarterfinals. The draw is going to be done on Sunday. Interesting to see Sunderland in there, mate.
Yeah, the Macams, they got through against QPR in the previous round. So, yeah, good luck to them. Hopefully
who would you like to get?
Sunderland at Anfield.
Okay. Sunderland and Anfield. I'd quite like to see, I don't know, any of those sides. Really, there's some strong sides still in it.
What's the bet we get Chelsea at Stamford Bridge?
Yeah, probably. That'd be right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, Man City. Did you see the penalty that Foden missed?
Yes, I did.
Shocker.
It was over the post. Yeah, no, I did.
Wide of the left hand upright.
I think it was up as well. And Did you see the save, Mason Mount, when that was a good penalty. Fraser Foster, was it?
Yeah.
Fraser Foster. Good.
Yes.
Good goalkeeper.
Quite right. All Whites midfielder Sarpreet Singh has continued his good start to life with Jan Regensburg in Germany's second tier with his 4th goal of the season. Singh couldn't help his side through to the next round of the German Cup, but kept them in the game with a 71st minute goal before they went down 2-1 to Hanover. He seems to have a bit of a new lease of life there, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, I think he's probably finding a level, isn't he? I mean, and so long as he improves, man, that's all you want to do when you're on loan, don't you? Improve, get better. I just hope he gets a shot at Bayern Munich at some stage.
Yeah, that would be great.
Wouldn't it?
He certainly didn't disgrace himself in the games that the pre-season games he played for.
I don't think he will. I mean, if he doesn't, wouldn't it be nice if he went to Borussia Dortmund or something? Went the other way.
Yeah.
Because most of the young talent go the other way. No, it'd be nice if he went the other way.
Yes, I actually noticed during the week on the Daily Mail, the newspaper that we all trust and revere, are linking Liverpool with the Dortmund pair of Jude Bellingham and Erling Haaland.
I'll just take Erling Haaland. Thank you very much.
I'll take both of them.
I'll take Jude Bellingham as well. But
I noticed actually his 16-year-old brother, Job Bellingham, is with Birmingham City at the moment, and Dortmund are sniffing around him as well.
Of course they are. And the coach, the captain of Birmingham at the moment is Troy Deeney.
Oh, is that where he's gone?
Yeah, he's gone to his hometown club and he's captaining them. He scored a goal the other day to win them a game. First game they'd won in a while. He was captaining them as well. Like Troy Deeney, like him. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, quite right.
I heard an interview that he did with Louis Theroux. It was very, very interesting, very enlightening about his time in jail for a fray and a number of things that happened to him as a young man. Very, very interesting character, Troy Deeney. What the hell is happening with the Spurs alternate kits, though, mate? They are just awful. Remind me of the Norwich kits of the 1980s. Looks like someone's just spewed up all over them. They are just horrible, aren't they?
One of them is it's a bluey colour, but it's got a photo embedded in the shirt of a Spurs player. It looks ridiculous.
The worst strip of all time, though, was Manchester United's zebra strip last year.
Oh, absolutely.
That was like, you can't see us, we're in the jungle. The kits, I don't know what they're doing with the kits.
Some of the kits they're coming out with now are just horrible.
I like the kits the Liverpool team have got at the moment, the first, second, and third kits. I quite like them. I mean, as far as the playing kits go.
We've gone away from the iridescent green and
what was
orange.
The other one? The burnt tangerine?
The burnt tangerine.
Don't do it.
Yes. But,
okay, so from burnt tangerine...
Your team needs to sort your kits out.
Burnt tangerine to black, mate. Let's go to Rugby Union.
Quite right. The All Blacks return to Cardiff's Millennium Stadium on Saturday night to play an understrength Wales team who have also lost Kiwi Willis Halaholo, who tested positive for COVID this week. Just saw the team come through, going through from the back to the front. Geordie Barrett is in the 15 jersey, Will Jordan and Rico Ioane on the wings, David Havili and Anton Leonard-Brown in the centres. Number 10, Beauden Barrett will play his 100th test for the All Blacks. Congratulations to him. TJ Perinara is at halfback, and the forwards, interesting loose trio. They've gone for a mix of mainly younger players in this one. Adi Savia is at 8, with Dalton Papali'i on the open and Ethan Blackadder on the blind. Pretty happy to see Ethan Blackadder in there. No messing around with the locks. Sam Whitelock and Brodie Retallick. And also up front, Joe Moody, Cody Taylor, and Nepo Laulala. So a pretty strong side there for the All Blacks up against Wales. Reserves, Samisoni Taukiaho, Carl Tuinukuafe, Tyrell Lomax, Tupou Va'ai, Akira Ioane, we haven't seen his name for a while, Brad Weber, Richie Moanga, and Sevu Reese. And so that match on Sunday morning, New Zealand time.
What time? Is it late or is it early? Is it breakfast?
5:15.
Oh, okay. A bit early for breakfast, but All right. I'll make sure my sky that one. What'd you make of the test last week?
Yeah, it's pretty predictable. I think
100 points. I don't know.
We're always probably going to put up a big score. I did notice at halftime after we were 59-7 up, Mills Muliaina thought we were going to score another 100 points in the second half.
It got me thinking, what the hell's the point? Did you think that?
Oh, absolutely. I actually slept in. We were away, and I missed the first half and just sort of turned it on just as they were going through all the tries.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm glad I didn't wake up early to watch this.
Absolutely. We need to talk about it. I mean, we're in COVID. We're still in a worldwide pandemic. We've just flown 50 people and staff halfway across the world to play a test where we won by 100 points and the ground was half full with expats. No one from America was there. Didn't look like it anyway. And I don't think it can do much for the game of rugby. I'm just being honest here. I mean, I love watching the All Blacks. But what does that do for rugby? It's the equivalent of England playing the Faroe Islands or Tonga or Vanuatu in football and beating them 10-0. They sold it to us like, we're doing our bit for. You're not. You're doing it to collect the money. It's not.
It is.
You're not growing a game. You're not really giving the people in America the chance to see the All Blacks. They don't want to see the All Blacks. Yep. They don't want to see the All Blacks murder a team by 100 points. I mean, the Americans are USA. They love a contest. They don't. I mean, they might have seen the best, but they've seen their own team get absolutely smoked. And they think, well, what the fuck do we watch this for? I mean, I don't know.
Oh, exactly.
Just my opinion, mate.
And we do that every year, don't we? We play a test somewhere like that, and
then we forget about it until next year. And then we're going there again. Why are we going there again? And then they feed us another bloody line. This is why we're doing it. Grow the game worldwide. We're the All Blacks. We're doing it, and it's just bullshit, mate. Yep. It is.
Just a quick sideline going back to football for a second.
Yeah, mate.
I noticed that Manchester United had contacted Steve Bruce during the week.
Yes, but he was in the play shop.
But Ollie hasn't been sacked yet. No, it wasn't that. It was to replace Harry Maguire.
I heard that's a good one. I did hear a really good one as well. You know the thing where it cut from Fergie to Kenny. I heard a good one on a podcast where they said it had the meme and it said these are the it's like the two dads in a wedding. There's the bride's dad, and there's when there's an inappropriate best man speech saying something about the bride, there's the dad for the bride. Oh God, there's the bride. I thought that is so true. The two faces.
Very good. Anyway, back to rugby and former Blues and Chiefs first five. Gareth Anscombe has been named, or is set to end a 2-year injury absence by being named in the Wales squad to face the All Blacks in Cardiff over the weekend.
That'd be cool.
He's got the full backing of skipper Alan Wynne-Jones. The Wales and Lion Lock has been impressed with Anscombe in training and has no doubts about his readiness for the international stage. Anscombe will replace usual first five Dan Biggar, who's not been released by his club as the game sits outside of the international window. So all the best to Gareth Anscombe.
Are we sure he is Welsh? Has someone done have we done a birth certificate check and all that?
He's got Shane Howard's grandmother.
Okay, well that's fine. That covers it off then. Yep, Gareth Anscombe. Go well though. That'd be an amazing moment for someone that was born in New Zealand to actually face the All Blacks.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been a tough week for All Black and Wellington winger Bernie Fraser, whose storage locker was wrongly sold by the faculty facility with family items and memorabilia from the Flying Wingers rugby days. Fraser's daughter, Brooke Fraser, of course, the very good singer, went public in the hope that some of the items could be tracked down and recovered after the family had effectively been held to ransom by the person who bought the locker. The family has asked that anyone who sees sports memorabilia relating to Bernie's career, please get in touch with them. What's all this about?
Yeah, well, I can update you on this. I wrote this yesterday, but there was an update this morning that the facility, National Storage, apparently Bernie's credit card expired. and he's been stuck in Australia with not being able to get back because of the border restrictions.
Yeah.
And so the payments weren't going through. And so the company, who happens to be one of the major sponsors of Hurricanes rugby, sold the locker off. And the person who bought it was, every time the Frasers contacted him, he put the prices up on everything. But it turns out everything apparently has now been returned, and with no payment. So
he's done the right thing.
He has done the right thing. I think once it blew up, once Brooke went public,
and once
with the whole thing, it sort of was,
it's not worth this much. Yeah.
So yes, bad look for the Hurricanes.
The storage unit. You would have thought they could contact him and sort of sort out the payment anyway. What a drama! Poor old Bernie. And his stacks of ebony.
Oh mate, he was a quality winger.
The two of them, when Wellington had him and Stu Wilson. There's a reason they called them Ebony and Ivory, mate. And they even had a corner at Athletic Park named after
Bernie's corner.
That's right. He scored so many tries down there, didn't he?
Oh, yes.
Great player.
Quite right. Now, the proposed World 12s rugby tournament has been delivered a potentially terminal blow by the sport's global governing body. World Rugby's finally done something right for a change. There's, after consideration by powerful committees, stakeholders do not wish to explore the concept further at this time. It was dubbed the Indian Premier League of Rugby. Organisers plan to launch a 12-a-side tournament in August next year, believing a franchise system, including a player auction, would entice new fans and money to the game. Yeah, we want new fans. Let's make it all whiz bang and lickety-doo.
Yeah. Go the mighty glory.
The women's tournament was also proposed, and leading rugby figures in New Zealand, Steve Hansen, Steve Chu, and Kieran Reid have all been paid. Trying to get the concept off the ground.
Involved. Sorry, have all been paid.
Well paid to get the concept off the ground.
Have been well paid to put their faces behind it. Yeah.
Well, Steve, I think the World Rugby 12s is going to flush the
dunny and move on. Yeah, I think that's the wise thing to do. Even though Budgie did sort of mention earlier, maybe we should. He was just trying to solve all the problems of rugby in one fell swoop.
Looking at it as a safety aspect rather than a concept.
That's right. A concept for sport. Quade Cooper is set to become the third big name to withdraw from the Wallabies spring tour as Rugby Australia is forced into damage control over the selection debacle. Cooper is yet to tell the Wallabies. I thought this might have been a passport problem because he didn't have his Aussie passport, but he's yet to tell the Wallabies team management he will not be joining the test side when it travels to Scotland at the end of the week, but the conversation will be a formality. The withdrawal means Dave Rennie has lost 3 starting players before a tough 3-test tour of the United Kingdom with Suntory, Goliath, brilliant. Centre Samu Karevi and back rower Sean McMahon also choosing not to play and to stay in Japan.
What an absolute schmozzle. Bad look on Rugby Australia.
Yeah.
And I think
Cooper, Dave.
As at yesterday, as you said, he hadn't actually officially told Wallabies management what he was doing or not doing.
That's the way Quade rolls, man. He's sort of just casual about it. Get up. Oh, I have to go. So I don't want to go.
Yeah.
Just Quade.
Crazy.
I think, I think, to be fair, I really do think that their coach, Dave Rennie, has done a bloody magnificent job with them this year. And he has just got one of the toughest jobs in world rugby to get that absolute. It's a schmozzle there at the Australian Rugby Union, and he's doing a very good job with his hands tied behind his back.
Quite right. A couple of big games in the NPC this week. The Southern Duel, the Crusaders battle, Canterbury hosting Tasman this weekend. That'll be an absolute cracker.
Torn loyalties for you, Macca. Torn loyalties for you.
NPC, I've got to go with Tasman, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did grow up in Nelson.
Fair enough.
Your
formative years spent there. Fair enough.
Tasman for the NPC, Crusaders and Super Rugby.
Fair enough, and you always do jump on a winning horse. So there you go.
Quite right. Another big one, probably the result probably will go one way, not the other. But it's always a big battle. when neighbours Manawatu and Hawke's Bay meet. So
Hawke's Bay are just on fire.
Oh, and of course, we've got the distance derby, Southland playing Northland.
Like that one. I liked it better when it was North Auckland, but that's okay.
Yeah. Hawke's Bay sitting top of the table, ahead of, or they're well ahead.
I know, mate. They are just on fire. They're just
running away with it. Ahead of Wellington, Tasman, Waikato making up the top four. With in the championship, Taranaki running away with that one, Manawatu, Otago, and Northland in the playoff spots. So, good to see some codes still going on at the moment.
Absolutely. And every time I watch that Hawke's Bay side, mate, it's rugby how it should be played. They're a great team to watch.
Oh, certainly are. And they've obviously locked the shield away in the cupboard for the summer. So well done to them.
And they deserve it too. I mean, that Waikato game last week, at half time, they thought they were in for a hell of a game, and then they just came out and smoked them in the second half.
Yeah. Absolutely. NFL, Cardinals, they've had an amazing start to the season.
Yeah, mate.
7-0, they're just incredible. Unfortunately, they've lost JJ Watt for probably the rest of the season. He's gone down with a shoulder injury. He's been playing really well for the Cardinals. And that quarterback, Kyler Murray, he's only about 3'4". And
he's the number one selling shirt in the NFL. He's the number one selling shirt in the NFL. Him and the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills are the two big players. What do you make of the Kansas City Chiefs? That's a big story at the moment. Mahomes is really struggling. Did really bad last week. They only scored 3 points, and they are really struggling at the moment. As a little bit of San Francisco as well. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo came back last week and didn't really look that good. Didn't really show much at all. They're struggling as well. But Green Bay Packers haven't lost a game since that first game as well.
Yeah.
They're going great.
Mm-hmm. Of course, Tom Brady's Buccaneers are.
Mate, they're always going to be
6-1. The Cowboys are having a great run.
They are, aren't they?
It would be great to see them go all the way.
Would it?
Not usually a Cowboys fan.
Don't like the Cowboys.
Oh, yeah?
No.
Oh, they don't
hate the Cowboys. Hate the Cowboys.
Good old Jerry Jones.
Oh, Jerry Jones.
And the AFC, the Bengals and the Raiders are leading the way with the Titans.
Without John Gruden. Yeah, they've done okay since John Gruden left, actually.
John Gruden left. Also, the Bills, the Ravens, and the Chargers have all only lost 2 games each. So
the Ravens look amazing, man, except their quarterback. What's his name? I forget his name again.
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson. He's the best rusher. He's the best runner. He's the best thrower. He's just a phenomenal player. I mean, he's Michael Vick Mark II, isn't he? He's just absolutely incredible. Every time I get a chance to watch one of their games, I do, and just to watch him play, just a phenomenal athlete.
Yeah, I think the last week was a bit of a blip for them, wasn't it?
It was. It wasn't all his fault though. He had good. He did well.
Number 1 draft pick, Joe Burrow. He's had a good start to life in the NFL.
Yeah, he's the blue-eyed, blonde-haired guy from Alabama, isn't he?
Absolutely.
He started very well. Well.
Quite right. Having a look at a bit of cricket now. I did say we weren't going to talk about the T20 World Cup too much. But
we'll talk a little bit.
Been a few things going on around rather than the actual games themselves. And shocking circles of star South African wicketkeeper Quinton de Kock withdraws from his team just hours before their first game at the T20 World Cup over his stance against taking a knee in honour of racial acceptance. One South African writer believes de Kock supports the issue, which he has since come out saying he does support the issue.
He's apologised.
But he disagreed with his country's edict that all players take a knee. He said it takes the individual preference away from players and said taking the knee is just a token gesture and more needs to be done to get rid of racism, not only in sport, but in life. And I mean, South Africa is probably one of the worst countries in the world, although they are getting better.
Yeah, living up to your name, mate.
Yeah.
Mr. de Kock. I mean, look, he decided apparently on the bus on the way to the ground. So the doctrine comes through, okay, you have to take a knee. Oh, I don't want to because, you're making me. Isn't that precisely half the vaccine argument again? Yeah. I mean, we're getting around this as a whole bloody argument. It's for the better good. It's for the better good. And you think that yourself, and you've actually said that. It's for the better good. So who cares whether you're being forced to do it? Come on, man. Just get with the program. You basically let your team down, you let your country down, and you let yourself down, and you acted like a cock. So, yeah. I mean, I just don't understand why people think, oh, my freedom
my freedom's been taken away from me.
To not be told what to do is more important than this massive racism issue.
Yeah.
I mean, one is, okay, I don't want to be forced to do something which may be a little bit of a inconvenience, right? The other is a huge issue affecting millions of people with violence and all sorts of stuff. So which one? You know, you basically pick a bloody side, you know?
Oh, exactly. And I mean, yeah, it's great that he came out and said he supports the issue, but there are much better ways of protesting against something if you feel that you've been hard done by, son.
Just made to look like an idiot himself and let your team down, mate. Yeah, it's just sad. Yeah.
I don't think we'll see him in a South African uniform again.
I don't know. I reckon he'll play the next game. We'll see. He's too good. He's a good player. That's the problem. I mean, I think maybe he thought I'm good enough that I can make this and it won't be a problem. But no, you're not, mate. The Black Caps were left frustrated, though, by a completely different thing. Lack of urgency by World Cricket and ICC for taking too long to approve fast bowler Adam Milne as a replacement for injured Lockie Ferguson prior to the first up loss against Pakistan. When scans revealed Ferguson's injury, Gary Stead, the coach of the Black Caps, tried to get Milne approved through the proper channels, but the ICC only sent the necessary approval after the game, meaning that the team were without both bowlers. Maybe there was a Pakistan official sending those through.
Yes, I know. It had to get signed off by 15 different people and then produced in triplicate, and they only sent 2 copies through. So it had to go all back through the process again, and somebody went to photocopier it and the machine wasn't working. They had to get new toner for the machine, and then they tried to fax it through.
It's like the transfer deadline day.
And the fax didn't work.
Can't get out.
Sorry about that, guys.
Would it have made any difference?
Well, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? As it turned out, the wicket was fast and quick. So perhaps it might have made a difference.
May have. I thought we didn't get enough runs. I think that was the story of the game. I mean, not that we really care. Yeah. I mean, honestly, 2020, every game I watch, I get more frustrated with it. Yeah. I don't know. There's a big one. Oh, yeah, okay. I just don't get excited by that anymore.
Oh, no, Devon Conway made an amazing catch on the boundary.
Oh, that catch. Oh.
I thought Danny Morrison was going to have a heart attack when he was trying to explain it.
I wish he would. No, sorry. That's terrible. Terrible thing to say. Terrible.
Rat. Anyway, England all-rounder Ben Stokes will be back to haunt the Australians after being named in a late call-up to the side for the summer's Ashes series. The Kiwi-born star smashed the Aussies all over the place in the last series in England and has been named fit to play after having a break from the game and also requiring 2 surgeries on a damaged index finger. The Aussies are not going to like that with Ben Stokes turning up now, are they?
They know that he's been out of the game for mental reasons. So I don't think Australia's exactly the place you really want to tour.
Probably not the right place.
When you're a little bit mentally fragile, because they tend to give it to you, don't they? They tend to give it. We're going to dick you, mate. You're shit. And if you're not good at tuning that shit out, you start believing it. You know.
I think Ben Stokes is probably a bit stronger than that.
I was going to say he's the sort of guy that doesn't give a damn about it. I mean, I just want to see.
Ginger.
I love a good ginger. I just think every I just want to see a good Ashes series. And when England go to Australia, they generally get pumped. So this is good. This is good for cricket. That they're going to have one of the closer to their best team. So it has to be good for cricket.
Yes, obviously, and well, they won't be just relying on Joe Root basically to get them right.
Exactly. They got someone else who can score the odd run. Sports fans who want to support their favourite team this summer have to be vaccinated. On Friday morning, the government announced the vaccine certificates will be required to access venues and events under the new COVID-19 green, orange, red traffic light system. The new framework will come into place once the local district health boards have reached 90% vaccination rate, with the government reviewing the strategy late November. No brainer.
No brainer. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
If you want to go and watch sport,
you want to go see a movie,
or go to a concert, go to a movie.
Yeah.
Get vaccinated. I don't know how many times we've said it on this podcast, but we'll keep repeating ourselves.
And while you're there as well, everyone you meet that's working there, they will be double vaxxed as well. That's the thing. Everyone you meet while you're there is going to be double vaxxed.
Yep.
So everyone that's working there has to be double vaxxed as well. So just think about that. If you're thinking, I don't want to do this because, it's my freedom, but I really want to see my favorite band. Well, everyone that had to work there, they got double vaxxed, mate. So, they've made sacrifices. You should too.
Quite right. A pair of game-worn sneakers worn by Michael Jordan, but not Air Jordans, sold at auction on Monday for US $1.472 million. Shattering a record for game-used footwear. According to Sotheby's, which handled the auction, the pair of size 13 airships are the earliest known pair of game-worn sneakers Jordan ever used as an NBA player. He is confirmed to have worn them in his 5th career game on November 1st, 1984, when he scored 17 points in the Chicago Bulls' 129-113 road loss to the Denver Nuggets, and may have, in fact, worn them in earlier games. $1.4 million for a pair of shoes.
What are the shoes, if they ever come to market, that he won like Game 7 with the shot? I mean, and these are the Air Jordan 4s that he was wearing when he took that. What are they going to be worth? Although 1.47 million, that's a lot of money, mate. But I'll tell you what, if I had it, probably not a bad investment, to be fair. If you sold them again in 5 years, you'll probably get twice that. So, investing in property or investing in Michael Jordan shoes, probably, it seems a lot of money. Well, yes, it is a lot of money. Yes, they are shoes, but mate, you got to look at it as an investment, and that's probably a very wise investment. If Michael Jordan dies in the next 10 years, double it, it's ridiculous,
exactly.
So
you can just imagine the 30-year-old guy that's still living at home with mum, and he buys the shoes and puts them in his cupboard, and a couple of weeks later goes to his cupboard and sees, Mum, where's the shoes? Well, you never worn them, so I threw them out.
They were old. They were in the recycling.
Brilliant. Now, the Cleveland Guardians roller derby team filed a lawsuit against the Cleveland Indians baseball team to block their name change to the Guardians. How's that one?
Well, something you must do before you choose the name for your sporting team is make sure that there isn't another sporting team with this name. This has happened before.
It happened in New Zealand before.
It happened with the Kings.
Kings.
We just slapped a Z on the end, didn't we?
Yeah.
There are ways around this. I mean, they'll probably end up paying the Guardians some money, and that'll all be done. It's a stupid name anyway. I mean, how many people follow the Cleveland Guardians roller derby team? Do they really have that name?
Solid support base of around 25.
Yeah.
And they're very passionate about the Cleveland Guardians roller derby team.
Fair enough too. And if you are one of those people, please make a comment below, and we will cover the Cleveland Guardians next time we're on the show. The roller derby. We'll let everyone know exactly how they're going in their local comp there. Okay, we've got best bet of the week. Our hot air best bet of the week for some really good. Now these are bets with a bit of value. Okay, we're looking for bets with a bit of value.
Absolutely, there is. I'm going with the All Blacks Wales test.
Okay,
I'm not going head to head because the All Blacks are paying $1.02.
Yeah,
mind you, Wales are paying $12. So
now that's some value.
That's some value. And one of the power plays, obviously, we just talked about Beauden Barrett. Playing his 100th test.
Yes.
One of the power plays is that the Barrett brothers to score more points than Wales. It's only paying $2, so that's not great value.
It's not great value. It's not bad, though. Is Scott Barrett playing?
No.
No, okay, just the two.
So it's just Beauden.
He's not on the reserves. Not on the reserves as well.
Yep.
Just might be a little bit of
a couple of bets I have looked at, and I've put money on a couple. and these are the winning team in margin with the 10-point spread.
Okay.
I've got put some money on New Zealand 31-40 and 41-50.
Okay.
So New Zealand 31-40 is paying $4.50, and 41-50 is paying $6.50.
What about the option just before then? 20-31.
21-30. That's the favourite.
Okay.
$4.33.
That's
so there's even
$4.33.
value in there if you want to back the favourite.
I like that though. That's still not so bad.
Yep. And a draw, $71.
Oh, nice. I like the draw and the Wales to win.
Yes. So a couple of splits there that I've put money on. New Zealand 31-40 and New Zealand 41-50. So basically, I'm covered with a New Zealand win between 31 and 50. So
Nice.
There's the best bet of the week.
You're expecting a big All Black win, and that'll be lovely for breakfast on Sunday morning. Okay, so good week, bad week. I've got the good week, bad week. Start with the bad week. Can only be one. He can't drive a car. He can't coach a team. Ole, it's been a bad week. It's been a bad week for poor old Ole. He's been at the wheel, but he's been a little bit, I think he might have fallen asleep for a little while and crashed his car straight into that old toilet called Old Trafford, and 5-0, lost 5 of his passengers along the way. Terrible week for Ole. Will he be at the helm of Manchester United next week? We shall wait and see. Good week. Good week for Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. The Hollywood stars finally got to see their beloved Wrexham, who they bought about a year and a half ago. They've never been able to see them in the flesh, and they finally got to travel to Wrexham, the home ground there, and made a bit of a splash by turning up just before the game and seeing their team play in the flesh. So it's been a good week for them and a great week for Wrexham, thinking, oh my God, there's Hollywood stars in Wrexham. What the hell's going on?
Quite right. One person who I thought might have appeared on your good week, Courtney Duncan, the Kiwi 25-year-old, has won her 3rd straight world motocross title. So congratulations, Courtney Duncan. So
she's an absolute champion, isn't she, mate? She doesn't get a hell of a lot of press.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolute champion, that girl.
Yep. 25-year-old Kawasaki rider in the FIM Women's Motocross World Championship. So,
and I saw one race, I think it was about a month ago, where she came off the bike on the first lap. Did you see that? And she came from last and ended up lapping the whole field and came in and won the race after falling off the bike in the first. She is an absolute champion, that girl, and probably weighs all of about 30 kg. She's just a tiny slip of a thing.
Ringing wet.
So well done to you. And also, rest in peace. Final one. Someone died. Rest in peace, Walter Smith. Walter Smith died.
Oh yes.
Former coach of Rangers, and of course not a team that I'm massively fond of, but he was of course a big mentor to Alex Ferguson and a number of other Scottish football luminaries. So rest in peace to Walter Smith as well.
And he also managed Liverpool's neighbours, Everton, for a few years.
He did. Not that we'll hold that against him.
Yes. Rest in peace, Walter Smith. Well, that's that brings to an end another Hot Air Sports podcast. It's been a big one today. We had Dale Budge, of course, and we look forward to having Budgie back. And we'll try and get some more guests on before we shut down for the year. We're the end of October this weekend.
I've been shut down for the last 2 months, mate. So shut down, open up. Who knows? Where are we going to be? I'll be here.
We'll build up over the next 4 or 5 weeks to a big Christmas end of year special. So
beautiful. Look forward to it.
Should be a bonanza. Keep up the likes on
comments,
Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, all those things. Love your comments. And of course, before we go, one more verse of Ollie's at the wheel. Ollie's at the wheel. Hi-ho the dairy-o. Ollie's at the wheel. Anyway, enough of that. Goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from him.